Hi, my name is Tom Dixon. I am the founder and host of the Financial Experts Network. This brief video features a discussion with student loan expert Heather Jarvis on this very important issue. Heather is one of the many experts I've relied on since I started hosting webinars in 2008. Our financial experts have drawn over 150,000 financial professionals with education and ideas that helps them provide better advice to their clients on important matters such as the best ways to improve your FICO scores, or perhaps making sure you understand all of your options around student loans. Now, my goal is to make our experts available weekly to more do-it-yourself investors, perhaps like yourself, by posting highlights of our webinars that can help you make more informed decisions about your money. So, please feel free to subscribe and then click on the notification bell to make sure you get notice of all the new videos we will post on a regular basis. Now, who should subscribe? Any do-it-yourself investor, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 60s, at any age, we will have content from true experts that can help you make better decisions about your money. In addition to listening to this video, I invite you to use the link in the description box to visit our website, financialexpertsnetwork.com, to register for any of our live webinars, to include one I am hosting with Heather on August 26th. I hope to see you on the live webinar, and please feel free to give us a thumbs up once you listen to the video if in fact you find it helpful. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post.
Hi, Tom Dixon here, your host of the Financial Experts Network series. I'm delighted to have one of our many experts that I'm blessed to have with us here today, Miss Heather Jarvis. She is a guru on all things and everything student loans. Heather, thank you so much for joining, as always.
Thank you, Tom.
So today we brought you in with the question of, wow, I have a federal student loan. Should I refinance into a private loan? And by the way, you see all kinds of articles and ads and solicitations. So I've asked Heather to join us here to share some thoughts in terms of some of the considerations that you really want to keep in mind as you think about this, and hopefully you're thoughtful about this. So Heather, I guess I'll start it off with some of the trade-offs. As I understand it, there are some benefits, many benefits, if you have a federal student loan, including the ability to defer making payments. You may be eligible for forbearance, the ability to change plans, the ability to have your balance at some point in time forgiven. Let me seed you with that. What would your thoughts be in terms of, again, what anyone that has a federal student loan, before they take that jump, what should they think about before they refi into a private loan?
Well, you're absolutely right that federal student loans have unique consumer protections that no private student loan has. Federal student loans can be discharged, for example, on the death or disability of the borrower. They have lots of opportunities to postpone or reduce payments, as you mentioned. They're eligible for forgiveness provisions, and in general are just less expensive and less risky than private student loans. But of course, that's not always the case for every single borrower. So if you are someone who has a strong income and a secure job, and who has already been able to identify that you will not benefit from any of the federal forgiveness provisions, so like public service loan forgiveness, then it can be wise to consider refinancing. The primary benefit to refinancing into a private loan is to improve your interest rates. There isn't any way to change your interest rates within the federal student loan system. So now typically federal loans, especially in recent years, have been at rather affordable and pretty good interest rates, all things considered, that often do beat the private rates for many borrowers. But there are some borrowers who have good incomes and strong credit histories that are very attractive candidates to these private refinancing companies. And so there are some people who can reduce their interest rates on their federal student loans by refinancing, and that can save the right kind of borrower a substantial amount of money sometimes.
Great. And just to circle back again, a great point. During the pandemic pause, I'll call it, where again, if you had a federal student loan, you did not have to make payments. You could. We've done a special section on that as well, but you did not have to make payments. You weren't required on most federal student loans, right, until February 1st of 2022. That's when it starts. But by the way, that's for federal student loans only, not private student loans, right? There was no payment pause on private student loans. Is that correct, Heather?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a great example of the sort of thing you wouldn't necessarily have been able to anticipate. Many of us were surprised by the pandemic. But when there is such a profound emergency, the federal government was able to provide that kind of across the board relief. Private lenders have always had the ability to forego receiving payments from borrowers, but they don't choose to even in the most difficult times.
Yeah, and by the way, if I'm just as if you're listening to this, and maybe your motivation for thinking about refinancing, it could be one of two situations, right? One, you're in a great financial position, and your cash flow is strong, and you're just simply looking to lower your payment by lowering your interest rate, and you're confident that what lies ahead looks rosy for you. That's wonderful. Then, by all means, looking at this, if you really feel like, hey, I can reduce my payment, I can reduce my my interest rate, and by the way, I could handle what most likely will be a 15-year payment term, right? So you would want to think about that as well. Okay, great. Go in with it with your eyes wide open, and if you're credit worthy, you're going to go through underwriting. You're going to have to prove that you're credit worthy. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're thinking about a private student loan refinance because perhaps that's not your situation, right? You're struggling to make payments, and maybe you're seeing these teaser interest rate ads, and you're seeing, boy, what looks to be so promising. As I contemplate that scenario, what occurs to me is, have you really thought about the income-driven repayment plans that are available with federal student loans, right? Heather, it seems to me, again, not knowing what your situation, if you're listening, what payment plan you might be in, but again, if that's your motivation, then thinking about an IDR would make sense. Yes, Heather?
That's right. That's right. So federal loans have much more flexibility when it comes to the choosing of repayment plans, including these income-driven plans, which can really reduce payments for people at just when they need their payments to be reduced. Private student loans will not operate in the same manner. And so refinancing in order to get a lower interest, or rather a lower payment amount, is not typically the way it goes. It's more about refinancing to get a lower interest rate so that your costs over time are less. But again, those loans are really just available for people who are already doing pretty well financially. You have to have a debt to income ratio that the lenders like. You have to have a strong credit history, credit score that they like. And so refinancing can be good for people with, good incomes. But the more you feel like you need relief from student loans, or and you're struggling to make payments, the less likely it is that refinancing is going to meet your needs. And you're probably better off looking at the income-driven repayment plans and staying within the federal student loan system.
Right. So we're here to give you sort of just the pros and cons of some of these ideas and options. But again, just to add on to that, if that is your situation and you're trying to figure out, geez, how do I improve my monthly cash flow? How do I deal with this? Again, looking at a private student loan refinance, sure, but please do it with eyes wide open. And know that if you don't qualify, one of the requirements might be they ask you to have a co-signer, which it could be a parent, it could be another loved one in your life, and that's great. But that could, again, be a requirement. And from what I understand, Heather, a significant percentage of private student loans do have a co-signer. Is that right?
That's right. Almost all private student loans have co-signers when they're issued in the first instance while a student is in school. Refinancing private loans have somewhat lower incidences of co-signers, although many of them, more than half of them, do still require co-signers. And to be clear, co-signers are on the hook as much as the primary borrower. So it really is a matter of the bank then having two people to collect from rather than one, and co-signing rarely is really in the best interests of the co-signer. So in fact, that raises one other reason to refinance private student loans. Many people get these undergraduate private loans with a co-signer on it to begin with, and then perhaps some years after graduation, they're better able to qualify for terms on their own. You may be able to refinance a private loan into a new private loan, and by that way release your co-signer from obligation, which can be smart in some cases.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Great. So we've gone through several ideas. Again, I would just suggest you want to, and I think Heather, more to the point, would suggest to be thoughtful. If you have federal student loans, before you do rush into a private student loan, and weigh the pluses and minuses. Again, some of the many benefits of a federal student loan would be some of the provisions around deferment or forbearance when you may struggle, or there may be a global pandemic and you're not in a position to make payments. Things such as the ability to change payment plans. These are all things that are very unique to federal student loans. And again, you would not have that with a private loan. So with that, Heather, once again, thank you so much for joining. I would encourage everybody to go to the website, financialexpertsnetwork.com, look for August 26th. Please join Heather and yours truly at 1 o'clock, and it's going to be live, and you can jump on and ask any and all questions that you like, and Heather will cover this issue and much, much more then. So again, thank you, Heather, and look forward to having you on the 26th.
Thank you, Tom.